Okay, this meeting is called to order. Stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Okay, roll call.
Of course. Seat 1, I have Julian Kalogridis.
Present.
I'd like to place on the record that Chair David Welty has resigned. We have Acting Chair Gary Jondro,
Here.
Member Megan Marshall.
Present.
I have alternate 1 as Matthew Boggs,
Present.
alternate 2 as George Mathis.
Present.
Thank you all.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, we have a quorum, and the alternate members here tonight are full participating voting members, because as we've got, this is a 5-member board, and so because we have 5, all 5, are going to be voting members. The first, well, there's the minutes, I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman. There's the approval of the March minutes.
Okay, we're looking at the meetings for, minutes for last meeting, looking for approval on those minutes. Any motions?
I read it earlier, so I'll make the first motion. And it looked fine to me.
Just need a second.
Second? Julian, second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All in favor? Aye, thank you.
Perfect. The minutes are approved from March of 2022. Okay. Mr. Chairman, we have on the agenda now, and since we have a full board here this evening, the nomination and election of chair and vice chair. And so just to remind the board, and for those of you that are, just to refamiliarize everybody with the process, the process is essentially a nomination is made by one of the board members for a chairperson for the coming year. Once that nomination has been seconded, that candidate is eligible to be voted upon, and candidates are voted upon in the order in which they are seconded on the motions, if there's multiple nominees. But if nothing further, then I would, on behalf of the chairman, ask for the board to nominate a chair amongst the 5 of you for the coming year. So does anyone have a nomination?
Are we allowed to, as alternate members?
You could, yes, you're a full member tonight.
I'll make a nomination for Mr. Jondro.
Mr. Jondro.
He was here first.
Is there a second?
A second.
And there's a second. Are there any other nominations? All in favor of the election of Mr. Jondro as chair, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Mr. Jondro, you have to vote.
I said aye.
Okay, good. Okay. It's 5-0, Mr. Chairman. You are now the chair, and just call for a nominee for vice chair, and we're on our way.
Okay, we need a nomination now for the vice chairperson. And I'm going to go ahead and nominate Julian as vice chair.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. I'll have to vote. Congratulations to both of you, and we can move forward. Thank you very much. So we'll move on with the case. Thank you.
Okay, the hearing item tonight is case number BOA 23-00002-791 3rd Street. Owner Kendra Padilla. And the applicant is requesting an exception from the Land Development Code, Article 3, Zoning Regulation, Division 10A, Table 3-4, Development Regulations by Zoning Districts, that the minimum site area in square feet required in zoning R1-A of 9,000 square feet be reduced to 7,500 square feet, and a reduction of the rear setback, which currently calls for 25 feet, to 7.6 feet.
Good evening, board members. My name is Virginia Renteria. I'm an associate planner for community development, and tonight I'll be presenting this case for you. So this property was platted prior to 1995 in Plat Book B of Osceola County. It was purchased in February of 22, and the property owner at that time split that one lot into 2. And the applicant, Ms. Padilla, she purchased that property in April of 2023 without the knowledge that it was split. And when she applied for her home permit in June of 2023, staff had realized that the home didn't meet the minimum standards for the zoning. The applicant is requesting for the required setbacks for R1A from 9,000 square feet to be reduced to 7,500 square feet, and to reduce the rear setback from 25 feet to 7.6 feet. The front and side setbacks can be met, it's just the rear setback that she's asking for a reduction. As you can see, the current zoning is R1A, and future land use is low-density residential. And above, you can see the proposed residence. It should also be in your staff report of how the house would be if she is granted her variance tonight. You can also see the north elevations and the east elevations facing 3rd Street and Illinois Avenue, as well as the proposed south elevations abutting the neighboring property, and the west elevation facing Indiana Avenue. Staff recommends approval of the requested variance as the request has demonstrated compliance with the section of 3.42D1 of the Land Development Code, which identifies the conditions that must exist for the Board of Adjustment to grant a variance. Staff and the applicant are available for questions if you have any.
As a matter of information
Yes.
to the St. Cloud staff, why is that allowed? For the property appraiser's office to just go ahead and split properties that don't meet our zoning requirements?
So on their website, the property appraiser does state that applicants should go to their jurisdiction to make sure that they meet the zoning requirements. It's only suggested, it's not required. So they don't have to actually.
Doesn't necessarily have anything to do with tonight, but why is it just required? Why isn't it mandated?
Good evening, Board. Tisha Manning, Zoning Manager for Community Development. So Osceola Property Appraiser, they do lot splits for tax purposes. They do provide disclaimers to the individuals when they come in that it is only for tax purposes and that they would need to come to their municipality to complete the lot split properly through the municipality. We are working with them to come up with a way to prevent people from illegally splitting lots. However, they are mandated by certain state statutes as well that they have to take the application. So we end up with lots that are non-conforming because people go to them to split the lots instead of coming to the municipality. It is free through the property appraiser's office to do so. It is not free through the city.
Do we know, as a city, when this happens? When this was really done, originally done back in I guess it was 22, there's some description here in the notes. The notes here that I have in front of me say 23, you said 22. Either way, was the city aware of the irregular zoning at that time that created?
Well, we have been asking that the property appraiser now do provide us with merge and lot splits that they have taken into their office. So we are in the process of adopting a process that we can verify that information and try to reach out to those individual landowners and get them to come in and be more proactive.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Wait, I have a question before you leave as the zoning manager. Thank you. I know that the city charges a fee for the lot split. Property appraiser, it's free. It's not, unfortunately, it's not something that's just localized here. It's all over. So would it be, or do you offer zoning verification letters to property owners versus maybe that's something that could be worked out so that we don't have, because the bigger issue that I also see, as well as you, is that we have all of this agricultural land, we have all of these giant parcels that are being sold off for, top dollar, and we're going to continue to get all of these non-conforming lots, or lots that just don't meet code for the zoning district. Maybe is the price of a lot split the same as a verification letter?
No. So we have a zoning verification letter, which is $100. The price of a lot split is $400.
So maybe, hopefully folks would take the right route, and maybe even if you got a verification letter to say that what you plan to do with the property appraiser is approved by the zoning manager, or the zoning office, excuse me.
Yeah, if it's set up the way it is, it's just not,
Yeah.
it's just not right. It's not right for the city to have a plan and just have it changed like that, but I understand you're
understand.
working on it. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, I'd just like to say that I drove through the neighborhood earlier that we're talking about and saw the exact corner. Looking at the home, I do think that it's going to make a nice fit in the neighborhood. I don't think it's going to be out of place at all. And as long as there is, and since we're getting the pre-approval from city staff, quite frankly, I would feel confident in making a motion for this to be approved.
I appreciate the fact you're ready to make a motion, but I think we're open for questions right now.
Yeah, we'll still have to hear from the applicant, or at least give the applicant the opportunity to make a presentation to be heard, and there's members of the public that may wish to be heard as well, so.
Okay, so we've got a little bit, appreciate that, but anybody else have any other questions right now?
Sorry. I do have another question for staff, and then another one for the applicant. On the proposed site plan, it says here that the only setback issue is the rear yard. Is there any extra space for the setbacks on the other, the front sides? Is there any way that the structure could possibly be moved to a little bit more of a conforming location? Is there any extra space? So if this front setback is, 15 feet, are they set back 20 and they could actually move it to right on the setback line?
So the house is pretty large,
Yes.
so it fits, if it was to be reduced, it would fit perfectly. But unless the applicant wants to reduce the size of the home, I don't see it. It cannot be moved, as that one big lot was split into two. That's what makes it non-conforming at this point.
Okay, so the size, if the applicant chooses to keep the house the size that it is, there's just nowhere that it could move. This is the minimum or the minimum variance, special exception, that we can request, or that they can request. Otherwise, we would maybe be asking for two?
Right, for
Okay.
the other side setbacks as well.
Okay, thank you.
Julia?
Okay.
I have a question.
Yes.
As far as arm's length transaction here, there's original property owner, and then my understanding is that the next owner that split the lot purchased it, and then from there, it's been sold twice? There's two
Yes.
separate lots here
Yes.
next to each other? Okay. Is it an arm's length transaction between each of those parties?
How did they purchase the property? Is that what you're
No, is it-
asking?
Are they related? No. Do they have any kind of?
Oh, no. It's two completely separate owners.
Okay. From the original?
Yes.
Okay.
I have another question. Is there any other lots or properties in that particular zoning area that has this type of deviation?
We probably, Mr.
The one right
Chairman-
next to
I'm
it?
sorry?
I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman. The Land Development Code really wants the Board of Adjustment to not look to similarly situated conforming properties in the same area and/or non-conforming in other areas in assessing a particular application. The code is somewhat narrow in just asking the board to just consider the request at hand as opposed to comparing with other properties. So I mention that only because it's contained in the Land Development Code. So it's incumbent upon me to advise the board of that.
Okay.
I know it's a logical question, but the board is not to be guided by other,
Well, except,
yes,
just a question. not-
yes, of course.
Based on the way I read this, let me find it right here. Basically, someplace I saw on here that there was no, here, I'll find it.
While you're looking for that, the Land Development Code's just looking right at me. There's a limitation to the board on granting variances, and no non-conforming use of neighboring land structures or buildings in the same zoning district, and no permitted use of land structures or buildings in any other district shall be considered grounds for the granting of a variance. So,
So it's a law and I can't change it, so.
I mean, it's just, it's guidance, but I have to give you all that because that's my job. By the way, for those of you I haven't worked with, I'm Jack Morganson. I'm the board's attorney for this evening. And it probably is a good time for me to just simply say, because you all know it's a variance case, your staff report, the Board of Adjustment, you all are charged with really reviewing all the information being presented and then go through each of the 6 criteria of the Land Development Code, which is on pages 5 and 6 of the staff report. It breaks it out, bullet point A, B, C, D, E, and F. The black bold is the questions to be tackled by each of you, to yourselves. And then, if those can all be answered in the affirmative, then the applicant has met their burden for an approval of the variance. And so those are the guideposts for you to review and then to generate questions to staff or to the applicant. Thank you. Now I've had my moment, so.
Any other questions for
I
the
do.
city?
I do have another follow-up to my other question. I'm sorry, this is the first time I've seen the site plan, so I'm kind of just, I want to absorb it and then obviously make sure that we don't have to come back here for something else. It's a corner lot to me, so I've got 2 streets. It's facing 2 streets, but I've got or essentially, you said that the setbacks on the right side of the house and the north side of the house would be conforming and to code. And then the rear setbacks and the side setbacks being 7.5 feet on the proposed site plan. I just want to make sure that we're not considering both of those as front yards, so there wouldn't actually have to be a 25-foot setback
No,
on
so-
facing Illinois.
No, so, it's Secondary Street, I believe. She meets her front, left side, and her right side. Those are all met. The right and left side are like 5 feet for R1A.
Okay,
It's just the
so
rear that, it's 25, and we're asking to reduce to 7.5.
is it possible that she could encroach further into the setback towards Illinois? Or make that,
I need my backup, sorry.
that's fine. No, absolutely.
Good evening again, Tisha Manning, zoning manager. So her front setbacks right now are currently 25, and that's what's required. On the left side, the street that is on Illinois, her setback is 16.2, and she's required to have a 15-foot setback, so she's
Okay.
meeting that.
Okay,
On the side that's going to be going toward Indiana, the east side, she's required to have a 5-foot setback, and she's at 7.5. So none of those setbacks will help her adjust her rear setback in which she can't meet.
thank you. I just wanted to confirm
No
because it
problem.
faces 2 streets, just in case.
Yeah, so the secondary side street setback is 15 feet.
Thank you.
Any other questions for the city?
You may ask if the applicant wishes to be heard.
Yes. Would the applicant wish to be heard? Yes. Step forward, please.
Please just state your name and your address.
Kendra Padilla,
And your address, ma'am?
600 Georgia Avenue. So I live right down the street.
Okay, thank you.
Can I address with something that she said? I'm actually a builder. I do this for a living. My setback in the back would have changed if it was the original blueprints that I had given the city, which would have made my garage detached, because detached garages have different setbacks to meet than attached. But zoning wanted me to attach the whole building, so the setback became different. What it's a little frustrating to me is that I do this every day for a living. I built my house on Georgia Avenue. This is a personal home I'm gonna be living in. And I went to the city before I bought this land, and I said, hey, can I build here? My architect works at the city. He also went, hey, can I show you the site plan and maybe you could tell me, can she build this here? Yes, everything was good. And then the day that I thought I was getting my permit, zoning's like, it's the only one that stopped it, and they're like, no, you can't build here because you need a variance. I said, what do you mean? Before I bought the land, I went to the city to ask, because I seen this happen. But because on my house, on Georgia Avenue, I have this exact same square footage, and my house is 3,400 square feet. So, you know, I'm like, I have the same square footage. Yes, I do have a detached garage on Georgia Avenue, but if they're telling me that I could build, I thought, no problem. I paid this land cash. I know the builder, and I have worked with him for many years. I was upset at him. I said, did you know? Because now I can't build my dream house because I thought I was buying a land that I would be able to build. I took out a loan to build this house, and it's running interest, and I haven't been able to start it. And am I gonna lose because it was under my personal home that I have now on Georgia, am I gonna lose my home because I can't build this one? So now I'm getting desperate because the city that I went and I asked, hey, can I build this? They said yes. I built my first two houses quite a few years ago on Illinois and Fifth. That was a lot split. I did it the right way. I went straight to the city and then to the property appraiser. I didn't know, because statutes change all the time, that this wasn't allowed. I didn't do this hardship. I have no other way. I paid $125,000 cash for this land, and all my savings are being drawn up by interest because I'm stuck, because I trusted the city, and I think that they should be held liable, which they are a little, because I didn't pay for the variance, because they took into account that they gave me the wrong information. But I'm still stuck paying interest on this, and it's hurting my pocket a lot. And that's why I'm here before you guys, begging you to give me this variance.
Question, when you went to the city, did you have proposed plans at that time and showed them, and they said?
Not the actual house, because obviously it costs money to do a blueprint, but what I was planning, and you know, what would be but the original one had a detached garage. So the setback, I was meeting all the setbacks, just like I am on Georgia, where I live now. So I was meeting all the setbacks until they told me, no, you have to make it one roof, because a detached garage does not have a 25-foot setback. So I went to the city and I said, this is what I'm thinking about building. I haven't even bought this property. Am I gonna be able to do that? Oh, yes, 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 you are. They know me. I've been coming to this department for 14 years. So I didn't have a doubt. But things do change, and I'm used to more dealing like with Joe, Bob, you know, and they changed positions. Joe had left, and so these people I hadn't worked with so much. I've been building more in Osceola County, but that shouldn't matter. Everybody should have the same information. Somebody should have told me, Kendra, don't buy that land. You will need a variance. If I would have even thought that I needed a variance, I would have never purchased the land.
Well, the person you bought it from should have shared that with you, right?
And that's why I have kept my sanity and my composure to not go to jail. That's how upset I was. But now all I could do is pray and try to fix this, because who's gonna buy an unbuildable lot? My taxes for this lot just came $891 supposedly for a lot I can't build on. Can you imagine? I'm a small-time builder. I build maybe 3 houses a year. I can't afford this burden, and that's why I'm here.
Anybody have any other questions for?
No, I have a question. Being in this business, there's the circuit clerk reports, and through that you could find any legalities regarding the land's proper usage or anything regarding that. Second to that, I'm interested in feedback, as there's a process that you're portraying for us to kind of get a understanding about regarding the rundown of the presentation of the land, and to seemingly seems like false advertisement in the way it's being presented. And what interests me is builders usually have contingency plans when there are opportunities for change, such as a detachable garage or an attached garage. So if that had been in the approved plan from the initial presentation to the board, what would the difference look like in square feet? If it met, instead of 7.6, it met 15.
No, because the detached garage is 5 feet from my property line. That's the setbacks for a detached garage. So it would be exactly the same square footage. It just means that you see that hallway between the house and the garage? It wouldn't be a hallway because there wouldn't be a roof. Because your structures can't touch, can't touch. Like the garage, a line of the roof cannot touch the house. And that's what makes it a detached garage. But in the city, they said, attach it all as one because it's gonna be several permits. And then we're taking variance after variance after variance because your porch would have to be detached. Your garage would have to be detached. If you're going for a variance meeting, just one building for one variance, because then we're just going over so many hoops. And I'm just taking the city's advice because that's what they told me. John's changed the drawings for me to comply what the city wanted for the approving of the building.
Was that drawing done with CAD with approximate estimates of feet and range?
What do you mean?
When you have the outline here, you have, 22 feet. Was it done with AutoCAD? Was it presented as a sketch, or were there actual
It was an
measurements?
actual blueprint.
Okay, so we had a blueprint? Okay,
Yeah.
just want to make sure. If this wasn't granted, no, I'm asking just because am interested in learning. If this wasn't granted, how would this impact the building of this property in terms of square feet? What would this net in terms of a loss?
I already spent $7,000 on these blueprints. And at this point, if I don't start my build, because that would hold me back, these blueprints were in the works since April. Since I first purchased the lot, they were in the works. I turned in the permit, June 23rd, I believe it was, something like that this year. So it was months. John just started more work, and I told him, that possibility. He's like, I won't be able to do your blueprints for a couple months. I might be even losing my house if I'm still paying this interest plus my house at the end of the year. I need to build this quick. So it's basically, and I have never been on welfare because I'm a very hardworking person, but that's just throwing another person on welfare because then I don't know what else to do. I will be going bankrupt if I can't build on this land.
All right, thank you for your comments tonight.
Thank you.
When you said you paid cash, there was no closing
Loan.
through a closing agent? Between you and the seller? Just want to understand.
I pulled equity out of my house.
Anybody have any other questions for the
Applicant.
Oh, and
applicant?
John is actually the back neighbor that would have my 7.5 feet away from my house. He's the back neighbor, and he said he was completely for it.
I just have another question for you before you go. Because you spoke about a couple of different other variances of your original plans. So I'm looking at what's provided to us. I don't know if you're familiar, or if you,
Well, yeah,
I'm
those are the
assuming
final
you
blueprints that the building department
You're-
wanted to go with.
submitted with it. So you would prefer a detached garage?
No, I like it this way better, but, because I told John, let's meet all setbacks, the original was a detached garage,
Okay.
because that would have met all setbacks.
And so when the city told you initially that you would need multiple variances when you
And
had it.
multiple permits too, because
Well, that's
the garage
understandable,
is-
yeah, you have separate buildings. That's the nature of the beast, you would know. So the attached, it looks like a little room on the southern portion, I'm assuming this is, the southern portion of the property, attached to the garage. Can
No,
you
it's
pull
a
up this?
covered porch,
Is that what,
a covered porch.
a covered porch? Which-
Behind the garage?
Yes,
Yes,
yeah, and so that was always there?
yes.
Okay, and that is what the city also said would require a variance, so they would require you to have two variances, one for the garage, one for the
3.
porch? And what's the third?
The house,
The house for what?
because it needs 9,000 square feet. That's why we're
Okay.
here.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Any other questions for the applicant? Anybody else would like to speak? Go ahead. Please come up and state your name and your address, please.
Please, if, after making a presentation, if you're speaking for the public, please fill out the appropriate form for the clerk, so we've got a record of, thank you very much.
Yeah, my name is John Newton, and I have lived at 316 Illinois Avenue since we bought the house from Bob Hensel in October 1963. I was a junior in high school. And I've been at that house with my wife, and I've worked Disney 49 years. And I would love to have Kendra as a neighbor, and I'm not the least bit concerned about the setback. It's actually, my house has 5-foot setbacks. Back in '63, that was all that was required. But I would encourage you to get this, we need to make some progress here and get this done. So please, approve the variance. Thank you.
Sir?
There's a form, should be a form too.
You have a question for him?
I'm just curious, sir, if Mr. Chair, if the gentleman could answer the question of, are you simply assured, sir, that your property will increase in value because of this one?
Oh, I'm not, it probably will, but I'm not least worried.
Okay.
The board is just taking public comment at this time.
Would anybody else like to speak? Okay. I believe we're at a point now to.
Close the public.
We're open for,
You can close the public meeting, and the board can enter into discussions or entertain a motion.
and I apologize, I'm brand new at this, so. Go ahead, come up here, please, and state your name and address.
Sir, you'll have to come to the microphone and state your name and your address, and then after concluding, please turn in a form for us, please. Thank you.
My name is Mark Parkey. I'm a retiree of the city of St. Cloud. I worked here 37 years and 5 months. I don't know if this is a Board of Adjustments meeting or a standard council meeting.
Board of Adjustment.
Board of Adjustments. I think the meeting I need to be at is the standard council meeting. I want to review the original agreement between the city and the cable TV company, which was Time Warner at the time. The agreement was entered on the city charter.
Sir, are you here to speak and give feedback on this case, which is the variance request? This is the Board of Adjustment.
I think I'm being asked to leave.
No, I'm just asking if you have public comment on this case, because the city council's not meeting here tonight. Their next meeting is going to be tomorrow night at 6:30? They'll be here tomorrow night.
I'll make my respectful apologies and come back tomorrow.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Okay.
Ask for any more public comment.
Okay, any more public comment?
Doesn't appear so. So this will be the time you can close the public portion of the meeting, and the board can discuss amongst itself, or if a motion is entertained. This is be the time for it.
Okay, this will close the public portion of the meeting, and I don't know that we need to speak among ourselves. Are we ready to go to motions?
I have a motion in my pocket, but I'm waiting if you guys want to speak first.
Anybody? Nope, okay.
I'll make a motion to approve.
And on the motion, would you just include that you've considered the 6 factors of the Land Development Code in support of your motion?
After consideration of the 6 factors, I believe that we should approve this application
For variance.
for variance.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, we have a first and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Any opposed?
Passes 5-0.
Approved.
Nicely done, folks.
Thank you. Congratulations.
Madam Clerk, next meeting, please.
I have the next zoning board of adjustment and appeals meeting October 11, 2023 at 6:30 PM.
Did you have anything, Ms. Early? No. Okay. Congratulations to newly elected chair and vice chair. Nice to see you all, and we'll see you next month. All right?
Do you need a pen?
Thank you all. Thank you, absolutely. Thank you.
Yep, he has it.
Have a great evening.